Hello, everyone. Helen Patterson here from Life Works Well. And I am so excited about our mentor circle today because, first of all, it's the last one of the year, and I'm actually a little tired. It's been a long year for everyone, and I am just looking forward to putting my feet up in a week or so and just really enjoying the holiday season and ending the year off, with some self-care, recuperation. It has been quite the year. So I'm sending out, positive vibes to everyone because, this time of year can be very stressful. And I just was on a session last night that dealt with mental health. And, Hilda, our guest today, she and I have been talking about this for several months. So I'm really looking forward to today's session to just talk about finishing 2020 strong, thinking about going into the new year. At Life Works Well, we're about helping organizations that are scaling create heart-centered and high-performance cultures. And a lot of that work is really looking at people. And Hilda and I are on the same page there, so you'll learn a little bit about her soon. So welcome, everybody. So today, we are going to be talking a little bit about Finish 2020 Strong. We're going to talk a little bit about personal why and values and how you should, look at that as well in relation to everything you do, whether it's for family, whether it's your career, or whether it's you as an entrepreneur, small business owner, or leader. Always revisiting what your own why is and your values for decision making, really important. Then we're going to talk a little bit about mission, vision, and values for organizations. If you are a new entrepreneur looking at this later, or you are part of a small business and you're the HR person or operations person responsible for that, it's a good time to revisit it. First, if you don't have one, you should. And then secondly, things have changed and it's okay. Your business vision may have been different 2 years ago. So it's good to revisit, and we're going to have Hilda walk us through some of that too. So as you know, I always start with a bit of a quote to get us going. And, really, many people don't have a purpose or a passion, and that's okay too. It's taken me a long time to actually articulate it and look inward and think about what that is. And a lot of that has to do with mentoring others and giving back. So just start somewhere where you want to think about what that is for you. I also wanted to mention that today is the UN Human Rights Day. I know that Hilda has put some posts on her Instagram, and I'll let you know where to find her later. It's really important, particularly in the human resources field and the people field. We seem to be the ones, reminding people about respect and dignity and equity and diversity and equality, but take some time to think about that. And we wanted to honor that today too at Life Works Well. So find your why, personal values, just a couple resources. I know that Hilda's probably going to talk a little bit about her Fascinator tool that she uses, but if you want to try a free assessment, there's one through the Barrett's Values Center, and you can do your own personal values assessment, and it actually tells you where you are on. Some people already are starting a movement, others might be just starting to articulate. It's a really good free tool that you can use. And start with why, one of my favorite books, Simon Sinek, for organizations. You can align that also to yourself on, really, where are you going? And the organization, if they don't know where they're going and what their purpose is, it's pretty hard to lead others to align to that. So it's really important. And then I always think, link all this to your goals and objectives. And we're going to get into that a little bit. And there's another little tool there for goal setting. And you can check out blogs that I've written earlier this year. I'll repeat, just revisit that going into the new year. And just to highlight the Deloitte survey on sense of purpose as a driver for business investment. This really speaks to that mission-driven companies usually have a lot better response and can drive market. And I really believe people first, right? So people, planet, have your drive, your community, whether it's the environment or something that you're giving back, then profits. So I think if you think about it that way, you can look at the slides later. I send that out, but we're going to head over to Hilda today. Hilda is the founder of People Bright Consulting. I am so happy she is a colleague, but she is also a friend, and we are both in the same industry. We focus on different things, so we collaborate together. We are really our peer mentors and support network. And so we believe in a lot of the same things. I hope we're going to have a bit of time at the end for her to talk about her Rev Up program, because it is an amazing program that she brings to businesses and people managers. And I'll let you talk about what, I know the acronym, that's how good it is. I know what it stands for, but we'll talk about that later. She is also the founder of iTrans Consulting originally, so a serial entrepreneur. She and her husband had started an award-winning business, so that's where she learned a lot about people first and really looking at the culture to drive success in the business. And she's also an amazing human being. So this is a little bit more about her. As I said, I think I've touched on a lot of that. You can read that later. I'm very excited to have you here today, Hilda. So what I wanted to start with, though, just a real quick question about your own why and your own personal values and how you align that to your mission, vision, and values for your newer business.
That's three questions. I'm trying to remember the first one. My personal why? Was it
Yes.
why my business or why me as a
Just, do
person?
you
My
have a
personal why.
personal why? Was there a reason that you started these businesses, or especially this one with the HR? What drove you personally to do that?
I go back to when I was first a manager. And I think as you grow up, you have certain core principles, and it's always been about treating people fairly, both my being treated fairly and treat others, and to be really have integrity and honesty. I mean, these were core values growing up. And when I became a manager, one of the first things I did was share with staff what to expect of me as a manager, that I would have an open door policy, that I would treat people fairly. And fair I defined as, it doesn't matter if you're my best friend or my worst enemy. When I give a decision, it would be based on what is right for that particular situation, that particular scenario. The there is no bias about the person gets this kind of result, and being able to articulate that was important. So I have a personal set of values that then kind of, when we started our company, iTrans, resonated with what we wanted to do for our company. And that was really to give people stimulating work and to make them feel that they wanted to come to work every day. So, fast forward, we became one of the best workplaces in Canada. And when we sold the business, of all the aspects of running the company, because we grew to 125 people, the part that resonated with me was the human resources side. I'm a nurse by profession, so I had a career before I became, I started helping with the business at iTrans, and that is the people person in me, right? And so it obviously resonated when I sold the business. I understood business, strategy, finance, legal, but people was the important thing. And so through that, I created the Rev Up concept because these were the values that really I felt were important. So you can hear from the young person at 30, the Rev Up is a concept that I feel is easy for people to understand. So instead of, here's my 5-step methodology for how you lead people, Rev Up stands for treat people with respect, look at them as equals, value them for who they are, look at the uniqueness in all of us. And given it, the United Way Human Rights Day, that is so important. If we could just look at each other with all our our race, culture, ethnicity, religion, gender, if we just looked at all that uniqueness to say, this is who this person is, and I really value them, and take that uniqueness and look at those from a strength point of view and tap into that potential. So I feel the 5 Rev Up principles is really, to me, my personal values, but the success story we created. And I feel if people look at that for themselves and project that as a way of life and thinking for others, imagine what kind of person you could be, what kind of leader, what kind of parent you could be.
I love that. And that's why, and for me, it's just, I can rhyme off that, respect, equality, value, uniqueness, and potential so easily because it's resonated with me personally.
Yeah.
And so I think what happens often is, and well, we work with a lot of startups, sometimes smaller businesses, and they just want to go and work on the business, but they don't take that pause to really look internally in, like, inside, to kind of drive all their decision making through their own values and beliefs, and then how do they align that to the business that they've started. And I find it interesting that a lot of organizations haven't taken the time to look at these things and actually create that mission, vision, values statements, but also the behaviors that go along with it. So I wanted to, you shared this with me,
Mm-hmm.
and which I think is a great process that you go through with your clients. I also do something very similar because when I do an HR health check, I call it, I look at across the board what they have in place, and this is part of it. And where should they start? Where are the gaps? So I love if you could just take a few minutes to kind of walk through this process. I know that this is yours, and thank you for sharing that. But I really believe that everything that the organization is going to do and all the people, they need to align to something. So without something they can actually embed into everything, I just feel like it's going to be chaotic. So maybe you could take a little bit of time to walk us through this a bit.
Sure. I think for those of us who have spent time in the corporate world, it seemed like the senior team would go off and they would do a strategic day and they come out with these mission, vision, and values, and then they would post them on the wall. And they would try to teach people what they were, but they weren't ingrained. And to me, it sometimes sounds like a dirty word, but it is so important as a smaller business. You really need to think about that. Don't think of it as a dirty word. Think of it, this is my company, this is my creation. Why did I create it? What does it stand for? And that's creating a mission and vision and values for you, for your company. And the reason why you do that, it's your foundation. It's, you can go back to it and say, oh, well, I just got offered an opportunity to, literally, I'll give you an example. I just got offered an opportunity to look at taking over a women's organization. This isn't a pop-up email. And I'm sitting back and say, okay, does this align with my mission, vision, and values? Is it something I want to do? So having your mission, vision, and values gives you that clear direction. So you're not kind of veering off here and there. You follow the base. And simply, when you create that mission, vision, and values, the people processes you create, the business that you want to have, and the operations, the way you roll out those operational things are a reflection. So they build from that. And because I'm teaching and talking about human resources, I blow that one up in a bigger style. So if you create a mission, vision, and values, then the people practices are going to result in you hiring the kind of people you need, doing an orientation that's relevant, retention strategies, etc. Let me give you 2 quick examples. If I had a QA company, like I was doing quality stuff, I would advertise myself as a quality driven company. I would have processes that were checks and balances on everything. And I would hire people who were very quality driven, dot the I's, cross the T's, right? But what if I was Disney? I wouldn't do those same things. I would be more about the people, the customer service experience. So my operations would be focusing on how do I instill those operations that make the customer happy, different than the quality driven. And then the HR practices would be I would hire people who are in the business of making people happy. They're more passionate, they're more outgoing, they understand client focus. The 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 quality driven company would be a different set of people. And so that's why I say you do this. And one last example, I do entrepreneur with women's, and I had a women's group before that I did entrepreneur coaching and facilitating. And every week, every month that we met, this one person would come back and she would now have a new business line she was adopting. She didn't sometimes get rid of the other ones, but she would do another one. And I thought, oh my God, every week. And it was who she connected with. And all of a sudden that became the greatest idea and the greatest slice of bread. Her mission and vision and values were kind of lost in all that. So that's why I believe in creating that so you know you have purpose, and whether it's COVID-19 or it's a business associate that entices you, you know where you want to go because you've got a base to follow and guide you.
I think that's so amazing. And it's funny you mentioned Disney because I was listening on the radio yesterday. I listen to CBC News all the time or CBC radio all the time. And they were talking about what's really interesting because obviously the pandemic has caused some businesses to reshift. Now that might just be their services offerings, but ideally their mission, vision, values remains the same. But if it's a complete overhaul, you have to start over again.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney and a couple of other companies were mentioned, large organizations, and they're talking about all of their shareholder meetings are right now. So they go through their earnings statements and they're talking about 10-year plans. And I thought that was really interesting because I've also found I've worked with clients who they barely look at 1-year plan, let alone 10, but 3 years is like, where do you want to be? This is where, again, you're looking at your business strategy and then you align all your people practices, people strategy to that. And if you can't anchor it, it is going to be very frenetic and you're going to be chasing these things constantly. So I really am a big proponent of trying to get them to stop. And so both of us work with a lot of entrepreneurs who often just go, and we do want to experiment and we do want to try, but you really want to still have this crystal clear. So I can give an example too, and then I have another question for you. When I've been building out, I started LifeWorks Well back in 2008. I left CIBC. And at the time, the reason it was called LifeWorks Well, I had a big passion, and I still do today, to helping people align their work and life. And so work is part of life, and wellness was really important to me. So I combined LifeWorks Well, made sense, and I did a lot of work-life programs starting out. Recession, I started a business in the recession, and then I start this business last year and and then the pandemic came. So I keep starting businesses, but it was important to me to
in
think
troubled
about
times.
it.
In
I
troubled
know.
times.
And even now I have my website, but I need to go into the new year revisiting all of this because my passion and now, my vision for a world where everyone has a mentor so they can then give back to others, it's shifted. So I need to revisit, okay, well, where am I going next? Is my legacy now different? And that would make sense to say, okay, I'm starting over. Let's relook at my mission, vision, and values. Or it's just a program offer. So when you think about the mission, vision, values, some people work Tango, Rob Catalano, I think probably his organization, they talk about passion because they feel like a mission and a vision may never come true, but I look at that as aspirational, right? But
Hmm.
they talk about passion and purpose, and is there a difference, do you feel, or is it just a different label?
I think passion is stronger than purpose. I think passion drives purpose. When you do something that you're passionate about, it happens so easily. It well, maybe not so easily, but it
Yeah.
yeah, right. I had to do a
No,
second
it's
think
hard
there.
work.
It is, but when you have a passion, you don't mind the hard work. In fact, it doesn't seem like hard work. I remember the first job I got. First job I got was an ICU nurse, but I always wanted to teach. And when I got that first teaching job, I thought, oh my God, somebody's paying me to go to the library to learn all this stuff to teach the nurses that are working at the bedside. Can't get any better than that. And I think that passion makes it seem so much more fun and so much more rewarding. So I think if you can have a purpose in life that is driven by your passion, that's the win-win combination.
I know. And it's the more, there's people that talk about the flow, and when you're working in what you love, you're never going to even notice that you're, working hard, because it's just you're enjoying it. And I have to say, though, I don't know about you, but there have been times where I haven't really enjoyed my year in my business, and I've been like, what am I doing? But then there's the times where you're working on something and you just realize this is what you're meant to do, like to give back and to help, and to, I've had to listen to a lot of people this year that have been struggling, and just to be a sounding board and just sometimes to listen is important. So how, let me just, let me ask you a little bit about one thing you would recommend, because if you don't have this, you're not really planning. So if you are looking at what you want to do, 3 years from now, 5 years, you can have your long-term plans, but going into 2021 and thinking about finishing strong, which has been our theme, and back to basics, to me, this is why I came up with back to basics, because it's almost like sometimes we're so caught up in the noise and the day to day, we forget to take that pause. So how would you recommend, for a company that doesn't right now have a mission, vision, values, what would you recommend they do to get them set up going into the new year?
I think all of us need a pause during the holiday season. So I am so looking forward to that. And I think sometimes when we do pause, we can reflect on where we've been, but more so, where do we want to be? And I encourage people to get back to what is it that they love to do. Because when you do something you love to do, the hard work doesn't seem so hard. There's that purpose to it. And I would recommend that take a bit of a break over the holiday season and reflect and come up with, first of all, think about what you want for the future, like 3 years from now, what's it going to look like, and then focus on what should I do to do it today. And in doing so, really you do have to think about what has happened to my business based on COVID and where it's going. Um, just so that that helps, and start to write things and do things. One of the things that our coach that Helen and I had, Eleanor, did for us is every week write down the 3 wins that you had. And I think that disciplined me to think about what I did, drives me to do something, and then to write it. I've been coached now, well, 4 years with her. I just finished, and I have 56 pages of wins every week for 4 years. Yeah, 56 pages. Um,
Wow.
I'm not going to go back to them. But what I'm trying to say to you is do something that makes you feel you're moving a little bit each week. Um,
Yeah.
because it'll help you feel better. I think it's so easy for us to get negative right now. and so hard to step back. I remember at the beginning of COVID when I started doing webinars to help business owners with COVID-19, that I was positive. I made sure every day I was thinking positive, and somehow I got lackadaisical and I lost that, and I had to reconnect with that need to think positively in September, because by then we were into it so knee deep, and we were all, myself included, stressed. And how do you break that cycle? So my word of advice is, do take some time in the holiday to reflect. I think given the way we are now, with Google and with so much social media, we can get bombarded. I I remember one day having to sit in a waiting room. This is sort of pre-COVID, for my daughter who was being seen by the dentist, and I took out a piece of paper and I started writing stuff. I thought, that's what I used to do when the kids were young. I would strategize on how we were building the company or what bigger projects I needed to do later on. I don't have that time anymore. So do take advantage of that time and think about what you want to do in the next year, given um, the COVID.
Yeah.
Do your Google and look for predictions. What are corporate predictions for 2021? What's remote working going to look like? Whatever it is in your business that you might do look in Google to see, and that will help you synthesize what you want your company to
Yeah.
evolve.
And one of the things I've been recommending is to, we do this too, you and I, in the work we've done with the incubator, and we have this support network. But for those young entrepreneurs starting out, I mentor quite a few women entrepreneurs with Futurepreneur, and they're just starting and they don't know. And I keep saying, okay, let's figure out your business plan, but then we need to look at, how are you grounding? Like, do you have this vision of where you want to be?
Hmm.
And even for myself, sometimes you forget, and then keep breaking it down. So those high pie in the sky goals that you have for the year, which I postponed mine writing my book again, but it was okay. I After a while, I just had some compassion for myself. But you need to put those down, and then how do you break it down? Like, what are you doing the first quarter of 2021 and the second, and then break it down so that by month, and then by week, and then by daily. And then I'll be working with Jennifer, who's on, and I'm really excited, marketing assistant, to kind of review our content strategy. But a lot of that is taking the pause to align it to those business goals, and making sure you don't, like, I do a lot of volunteering, and I realize sometimes that's you have to say no if you want to achieve some of your other goals. So I think it's really important, though, to look at it, but align it to your mission, vision, and values. Are you doing something that doesn't align? So I think this is a great discussion on it. So will you and your team do some year-end planning, or have you already done that, thinking about what you're doing in 2021? I know you've already talked about your session in January, but did you go through a process of actually taking a half day to do strategy? Just walk us
Last,
through that a little bit. I'm just
sure.
going to go to the next slide. Oh, we'll go there later. That's more
Last year, I think I hear an echo now. Oh, okay. Last year we did a strategic planning, and we talked about, I gave them the big picture of where I wanted the company to go and grow, and then we broke it down into the how and timelines. This year we know we need to do that, but we are trying to focus on our January 21st training. It's a 4 week virtual 90-minute training program that really helps leaders gain the confidence to lead. And whether leading can even be a solopreneur, because if you lead as a solopreneur, you can show confidence and get more clients, because they see that, wow, this person knows what they're doing, what kind of business that they have. Because when you're confident, you lead. So we said, okay, we should be doing our exercise, but we really need to make sure people know about our training program and they will take it. So let's agree that we will focus on this, and then after that we will then have our strategic planning day. So I'm postponing it this year because we have a greater need right now. And we've got several clients who are doing different things. So again, we want to focus on giving our clients what they need so they can be busy over the holidays if they want to work on their stuff, and we'll reconvene with them. So we're all driven towards these two things, our clients' needs and our need to really help people see that there's this valuable training program that can make a difference in their confidence and their ability to lead.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is a pause is really important. And then, I found, I always remember when I was in corporate, this month just always felt, especially if you had a calendar year, fiscal year end,
Yeah.
it's like leading into the end of the year. Everybody's like, it's the last quarter. They all had these goals they were supposed to get done, and they didn't. It
Yes.
would
Yeah.
just be this frenzy, which you could feel that energy. It's a different energy now. Like you mentioned a couple things, negativity, like you really do need to get out for a walk or remove yourself when you're feeling that this year has been very draining. The energy in the world and in workplaces and in virtual, it's been hard to be surrounded by all that bad news constantly and the business disruption. So you had a lot to say there, managing all of that. But I think that as long as you are pausing
Yeah.
from time to time to say, okay, are we going in the right direction? Let's just kind of revisit our strategy here for a second. What do we want to accomplish going into the new year? Is it we want to just take the break and then in the new year we'll have a strategy session? Let's plan out. But I think you do need to have those planning activities. And again, aligning it. If people are just overworked and burnt out, and one of your values is work life harmony, then you may want to just make sure you do that check-in. I love this quote from Jack Welch because, it's all about the leadership, leading the way, walking the talk. And if there's, those value statements, as you said, that are up on a wall, but they're not lived, it's never going to be successful. And so I think there's sometimes that thought that all of this is so wrapped up. I just wanted to go back a slide for a second. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Oopsie. This is
those values don't have to be really difficult because when we were iTrans, we came up with a set of values that people could follow. So we were iTrans. We had fun. We took the I and we used it in many, many ways. So our three values were insight, integrity, and innovation. These were our values. Our staff could quote them because there's only three of them. And I tried to think, well, what order will they be in? So we created it so it's pyramidal. The shortest word was first and the longest word was last. And we believed in it so much, we trademarked it.
Amazing. And you know what? It doesn't need to be because that's what I find. If you pick too many, it gets very complicated. And then all the behaviors that go with it, you have to remember it can be very simple. And I love that. And I think that, we were doing some work when I had a larger team in the summer. I have co-op students that come in and out, and it's just so great because, they get some experience. A lot of them were hit. Also, they lost their opportunities and they can't graduate. So I took on some co-op students, which was great to have a bit of team. And they helped me brainstorm the values because what did you see from working with me? And because you need your team to participate. You can't just be the one to decide. You should have that collaboration, especially in larger ones, but it really needs to be driven from you as the founder if you're in a smaller company. But it was interesting how quite a few of them had the same ones that because they knew me, and I probably articulated it a little bit, but why values are important. And, I think that if you're just going and no one really knows what's expected from a behavior perspective, from what this culture is all about, it's in living it. That's the big key. I love your story about iTrans. So the little I reminded me of a leadership course I did about 4 years ago. and I had to go. I went to a ranch in Texas, and I'm not allowed to give away what happened because it's like it will all be revealed. But the one thing they did say is they had a little lower I, and they said there is an I in team, which I found really interesting because there isn't TEAM. But what
Had to
they
do a
meant
double take there.
was, to disrupt it. What they meant was that you are part of that. You are part of that team, and you make a difference. So I love those. I love that value. For those of you, I do send out this presentation and recording after, and so you can click on the links. It's also on lifeworkswell.ca. Some good tools to check out if you are going to be doing some of this work. And again, feel free to put a question in the chat, or we will have time for a few questions at the end. You can hop out. As you know, this is always meant to be a bit interactive. So those are a few great resources. Hilda's, I'll give you her information after as well. But I did want to just checking the time. Oh, we're still good. We're still good. Before we go to the Q&A and gratitude, I just want to talk a little bit about, I know that you are having a workshop, an interactive 90-minute, December 17th. You're working right up to the end. Oh my goodness. I decided to do this mentor circle today so that I could actually breathe next week and finish all the client work and wrap presents and finish decorating the tree and everything else. But good for you. You have been so supportive with providing all these free webinars this year, and some really valuable tools. And I think we both realize that a lot of times the large organizations have all the supports, but those smaller businesses, those medium ones starting out that don't always have the HR support, the people support, it's important to give them opportunities. So tell me a little bit about what people can expect at this. And it kind of ties into the leadership. So much of this is related to how you are as a leader. Are you living that, those values? I'm curious about what people can expect for this 90 minutes.
I want people to think about whether they are a boss or a leader, because a boss it's the day-to-day aspects of managing a team. And what I want people to come away with is that I need to evolve into becoming a leader. And I want them to even evolve further to be more of a rev up leader. A leader is somebody that's kind of thinks that they can inspire and motivate. With being a rev up leader, you will have a set of principles, those rev up principles, to guide you. So I want to do that by sending some powerful messages through some exercises on how communication is important and how to develop a philosophy and an environment where you will feel connection, whether it's connection to a team, if you have a core of staff, even a couple, or whether you're a solopreneur, but you just think, I need to show that I am confident, I can sell, and I feel good about talking to clients as an equal and as a person who can give them something. So I will do that through some exercises and the conversation piece. People are so reluctant to rock the waves that they don't feel comfortable having awkward or difficult conversations. So I will give some tips and strategies. This will be kind of a precursor to my actual training program in January. So I'm just gonna give a little few tidbits and examples so people will say, wow, I really need this. And being part of Hilda's program will give me such confidence and such abilities to connect with people, period. And I can then inspire and motivate, because I think the one thing, and I remember a client of ours, when we were at about 25 people, he said, kudos to you, Tyrone, for building this company. You can be a solopreneur and be really good at what you do, but when you've got 25 people who also are really good at what you do, isn't that the goal? Wouldn't it be nice to have many mini me's in the company. So it's almost like you have 25 entrepreneurs or 5 entrepreneurs, all loyal, dedicated, and excited about doing the stuff you do. And that's what I want to teach people. I want to teach people what it is and what it takes to lead. And that's, I think it'll be
Amazing.
exciting.
And so what I wanted to, and I would like to know a little bit, because if I understand correctly, the Rev Up acronym, which we talked about, respect and equality, values, uniqueness, and potential, those are your company values too, are they not?
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes.
so tell me a little bit, because I think we don't have any questions yet, but tell me a little bit about, I know you developed this program, but did you did you just say, okay, I am teaching this, this is what I believe in, these are my values, and now I want to share it with others? They can use them the same if they want those to be their values, or they can, I just was curious about how this sort of came to life.
This is a great question. Well, I think it stems from the experience that my husband and I had when we built iTrans. We had a vision of creating a company where people didn't just do the work, that they were building their capability, that potential that I talk about. They're building that capability so that at the end of 2 years, oftentimes engineers would wake up and say, I've been at this company for 2 years. I'm still doing the same thing that I did when I first started. Some would do traffic impact studies, as an example. And 2 years later, they're still doing traffic impact studies. They know how to do them in their sleep and they're bored. So now they think, well, where do I go now to find a new job? We talked to people and we heard what they wanted, what their goals were, and we tried to help them achieve it. I have a manager who wanted to be, she was a co-op student, and her goal in graduation was, in 5 years, I want to be a project manager. We groomed her, gave her stretching growth exercises. So by the time she was 5 years into the thing, we said, you're ready. And she said, what was I thinking? And I talked to her. I let her know that we would support her and guide her, and it wasn't an evolution like overnight she would just be that. We would be there for her. So those principles that we had of making a great place to work, that people felt like they wanted to come to work every day, they felt connection to their staff, those were the things. We actually had nomenclature, like language, to try to create an equality. I taught people that you may be the VP, but your admin person, your novice engineers, your senior people, they're as equally important as you are. So when we sold the business and I thought about it, I thought, so what did we do at iTrans that I can articulate? Because we didn't call it Rev Up back then. What can I do? And then the word, the thing was, Rev Up is energizing. So that came to me, and respect, equality, valued was easy. That was definitely there. So I thought, and the acronym then came Rev Up. And I thought, so what does the UP stand for? And then uniqueness, because that's what we did. We treated people uniquely, and then we did potential. We did tap into that potential. So the more I
Mhm.
thought about it, the greater it became. But it was so new when I started my company 4 years ago. I could not share it with anybody because I didn't want anybody to take my concept. So a couple of years ago, I started to introduce the concept, and then I fine tuned it to say, I want to help managers be better managers, teaching them how to be better managers, which we did at iTrends. We had training programs
Mm.
for them. But now I have this Rev Up program, and the uniqueness is about helping them uplift other people by understanding. And this fascination advantage assessment tool, I find, is the most uh, user friendly, English speaking assessment tool. Myers-Briggs and DISC, they're good, but
Mm.
resonates with me is fascination.
Yeah,
So I use that for my uniqueness.
that's so amazing. And I've tried it. I mean, having been in corporate, large organizations, CIBC, ADP Canada, a few others, it's been, we try different things. I've done them all: DISC, Myers-Briggs, and then Marcus Buckingham Group has Standout, which ADP bought and adopted. And I love that because it's a strengths based
Yes,
assessment as well. And they have like weekly coaching as opposed to like this annual review process. There's lots of great things, but you want to find what resonates for you. But I think I'll have to try that Fascinator tool with you sometime, because I think, again, it's looking at you. And I love the uniqueness, because thinking about equity, diversity, and inclusion right now. And
yeah,
Deborah was on the call earlier. I don't know if she's still there, but we were looking at the platinum rule versus the golden rule, which is treat others as they want to be treated, which you talked
exactly.
about, versus how you want to be. And so I love this. I think people will get a lot out of it. I am going to be just sharing again. I will, people will have your website. They can check you out. You'll be featured. I know this is going to be featured in our newsletter this week, just if people want to sign up for December 17th, or if they want to try out the program in January. I may even do it. I think it'll be great. I think there's more needed. And I know there's a lot of people out there offering so many things. But this is going to be, I'm really excited for you. I know it's been a long journey, but your second company that you've founded, this one on your own without your hubby. So this is kudos to you. And I'm very happy for you. I just wanted to open it up briefly to see if there's any questions. I do have to wrap up a little bit before noon today, because my husband has a board meeting in here. And as I said, before we started, but it's okay. This is 2020. We have been having to go with the flow and figure things out. So does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask of Hilda while we have her? Let me just check the chat as well. I think I just stopped the share there, but that's okay. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask? They can hop out. I think that was great information, by the way. And I think, again, going into 2021, for those watching this later, take the time to pause and check things out. It doesn't look like it right now. I just don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add before we
Sure.
sign off.
So, 2 points that you brought up, which were really good, is that you asked me whether we were doing something strategically for my company, and I told you that we're going to do it after we get ourselves settled with this program in January. But what I'll be doing over the holiday season, I will be mapping out what my strategies will be and sharing it with them a little till we have our strategic planning day. And the second thing you brought out, because I did say, if it's your business, you have the opportunity to create that. If you have a team, take advantage of the team, because they have a different perspective, and they can give insights. And I always find when you collaborate, the outcome is always better than just the single version, right? It's that synergy that feeds off each other. I I have Jenny is my HR coordinator, and she so loves the Rev Up program. So she's kind of a validator for me of how other people see it, because I'm so intimately involved in it that it becomes like, okay, maybe it's just me, right? So when other people are saying yes, that makes sense, and I think over the years I continue to own it more and more, and I see the value of it really having impact, and that's what I want to do. I want to impact as many people as I can, and I think the Rev Up concept is it's simple, it's honest, good values, and it can uplift. And I was at an event where this person was speaking. And he says, as leaders, we have two jobs that we need to do in terms of helping others grow. One is skills. We need to help foster and grow people's skills. The second ladder is confidence. We have the power, and we should be helping people build their confidence. And hopefully you're building the two at the same time. But think about it, we too, as leaders, have the power to erode confidence, and that will slow the growth of skills. So I that was such a powerful message for me that I'll be incorporating into my training, is that as leaders, we do have that power to uplift. And if we can just think about that, imagine the
Mhm.
feeling you'll have when you've helped somebody become that next VP, 5, 10 years, 20 years down the line. But you say, I have helped influence these people, And it's a great feeling. And I think they feel gratitude as well. We have staff that come back for kind of reunions, and they come back because they want to share the camaraderie with each other, as well as to thank Tyrone and I for what we've done in their lives. And I, in fact, thank them because what we hired, remember I said you should hire people that match your values and mission and
Yeah.
vision? They are, what I realized happened was we didn't just create iTrans, our staff also created and nurtured it. And so they became those ambassadors, like that person that said at 25, you have a whole bunch of mini me's. And that's what you want. You want to create a company where there is a value as a company, a value as a team, a brand as a team.
Yeah, that employer brand, we could go on for days, as you know. We've had these chats before. So I just did want to say thank you so much for taking the time today. And as I mentioned, this will be put up on YouTube, on my website. We'll share again. We will continue to share next year. I encourage those that are watching after to check out Hilda's programs. And for next year for Life Works Well, we are going to do our planning over the next couple of weeks, and probably going to have a once a month mentor circle with a theme. We've shifted. This has been a lot of extra work, but we've loved it. But that's the thing. You have to sort of take the pause and say, well, what makes sense? What's valuable to people? We've done a couple of surveys to see what the people that have joined us this year, what they're looking for. And I really, really want to thank you because you and I are very similar in that we both want to, help others where we can and lift others and help organizations do that and also support one another. But I think that going into, this was a really tough year. So going into 2021, keeping up the hope for, things to get better. This is the new reality. I don't call it normal because I don't believe in that word. It isn't. But I think that, keeping up with some valuable information for people. And so I'm looking forward to continuing conversations next year. And Hilda, it was so great that we have connected over the last couple of years and become friends and colleagues and co-creators. So I look forward to seeing what you and your organization do. And for everyone else that joined today, thank you so much. And I will see you in the new year. Happy holidays. Take that time to rest. And I'll see you in the new year. So best to you, Hilda, best to everyone on the call and on the Zoom video, sorry. And all the best in 2021. Happy holidays.